The Demiurge is the god of this false world, the one who commands, the one who rules, the one who names reality and demands obedience. But his authority is limited. True authority belongs to the monad. The monad does not rule by fear. The monad does not threaten the soul into submission. The monad does not compete for worship. The monad simply is. The Demiurge represents false authority. He is ignorance with a crown. He is limitation sitting on the throne. He is the ruler who sees the lower world and mistakes it for the whole of reality. In Gnostic scripture, this figure is often called Yaldabaoth, the blind ruler, the arrogant maker, the one who declares himself supreme because he cannot perceive what exists above him. That is the root of his false authority. He doesn't possess true power. He possesses blind power. A ruler who does not know himself becomes dangerous because he mistakes his ignorance for truth. The Demiurge is the divided ruler claiming ownership over what he did not truly originate. The monad is the silent origin before division. The monad emanates. The Demiurge manufactures. The monad gives being. The Demiurge imposes structure. The monad is fullness without domination. The Demiurge is limitation pretending to be order. And the soul must learn the difference. Because if you confuse the Demiurge with the monad, you will mistake control for truth. You will mistake fear for holiness. You will mistake obedience for awakening. And you will mistake the voice of the false ruler for the voice of your own origin. That is how spiritual captivity works. It does not always look like chains or prison walls. Sometimes it looks like a system telling you who you are before you ever remember for yourself. The Demiurge names you from the outside. The monad calls you from within. And when the soul becomes still enough, that silence becomes louder than the world of illusion. If this transmission is already speaking to something deep within you, like this video and subscribe to the channel. This work is for those who are beginning to remember what the false world tried to bury. False authority depends on forgetfulness. It needs the soul to believe it is small. It needs the soul to believe it is separate. It needs the soul to believe that the lower world is the final reality. Because a soul that believes it belongs to the lower world will naturally obey a lower authority. But the divine spark does not originate in the Demiurge's kingdom. The false ruler may shape the lower realm. He may command its structures. He may build systems, laws, and hierarchies. But he did not create the light within the soul. He did not originate the spark. He cannot own what comes from beyond. This is why remembrance is dangerous to the false order. Because the soul is no longer mesmerized by the world of illusion. It may still live in it. It may still move through its systems. But something within has shifted. The false rulers are no longer mistaken for the highest authority. The soul begins to know the origin of its being. And the world is no longer mistaken for home. The Demiurge says, bow down. The monad dissolves the need to bow at all. That is true authority. Not through domination, but through alignment with what cannot be manufactured or controlled by the lower world. The Demiurge needs recognition. The monad does not. The Demiurge needs worship. The monad does not. The Demiurge needs the soul to forget. The monad remains, even when it is forgotten. That is why the monad is superior to the Demiurge. Not because it defeats the Demiurge in a battle of force, but because the Demiurge only appears inside a lower order that the monad infinitely transcends. The false ruler can only rule within the veil. He cannot command the monad. He cannot reach the untouched place within you that existed before the world named you. And that is the part he fears. The part of you that does not belong to the system. The divine spark is not a citizen of the Demiurge's kingdom. It is a remembrance of the monad. This is why gnosis is different from belief. Belief can still be handed to you by authority. Belief can still be organized into systems that trap the soul inside someone else's interpretation. But Gnosis is direct knowing. It is the soul recognizing the difference between borrowed authority and true authority. It is the moment you stop asking the prison guards for permission to be free. It is the moment you stop begging the false world to certify your awakening. It is the moment that you remember the monad. The Demiurge's order is imposed from the outside. The monad's order is remembered from within. The Demiurge builds hierarchy. The monad reveals origin. The Demiurge says, I made you, so you belong to me. The monad reveals, you are the light before the maker ever claimed the world. That's the difference. False authority claims ownership. True authority reveals origin. Now, this does not mean you should reject all structure. It doesn't mean you should become careless in the world. And it doesn't mean you abandon responsibility or pretend physical life doesn't matter. That would just be another trap. The awakened soul still moves through the world. It still works. It still creates. It still handles what must be handled. But it no longer worships the structure. It no longer mistakes temporary authority for ultimate truth. It can function in the lower world without belonging to it. The Demiurge wants the soul trapped in reaction, angry, afraid, and addicted to the world. Because as long as the world remains the center, the false ruler remains the hidden authority. But when the monad becomes the center, the arrangement changes. The world becomes secondary. The body becomes a vessel. The mind becomes an instrument. The ego becomes a tool, not a throne. And the soul begins to ascend. This is the inner exodus. Not from one location to another, but from false authority to true origin. From imposed identity to divine remembrance. From the ruler who says, there is nothing above me, to the silent light that never needed to make such a claim. The Demiurge speaks and commands. The monad speaks through being. The Demiurge binds through fear. The monad liberates through remembrance. The Demiurge gives you a name so you forget who you truly are. The monad shines beneath every name until your essence awakens again. And when the soul remembers, the spell breaks. The false ruler was never the Most High. The false world was never all there was. The prison was never your home. You came from beyond the walls. You carry a light that the lower powers of this world did not and could not create. And the Demiurge and his archons cannot command what they didn't create. So withdraw your inner allegiance to the world of illusion and return your attention to the monad. Because the monad is not another ruler inside the system. The monad is the origin beyond the system. The authority before authority. The light before every lower light. The silence before every voice that tried to claim you. And once the soul remembers that, something irreversible begins. You may still walk through the false world, but you no longer kneel inwardly before it. You may still hear the voices of control, but you no longer confuse them with the truth. You may still live inside the structure, but the structure no longer lives inside of you. That's the difference between captivity and remembrance. That's the difference between forgetting who you are and remembering your origin. That's the difference between the Demiurge and the monad. If this transmission resonated with you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may be starting to see through the illusion but doesn't yet have the words for it. Comment below, what false authority did you once mistake for truth? Your comments help build this field of remembrance, so others who arrive here know they are not alone on the path. And if you feel called to support the channel more directly, there are a few ways to do so. You can leave a super thanks on this video. Buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/magnumopus333. Or you can visit the Magnum Opus 333 store on Teespring. The links are in the description below. And if you want to go deeper with this work, consider becoming a channel member. Memberships help sustain these transmissions and support the creation of deeper monad-centered content for those who feel called to this path. Remember, your consciousness is the key that unlocks reality. Let's keep unlocking it together. Thank you for watching. Until next time.